Hi everyone, this is Kelly at Rainbows and Clay, and today I'm going to show you how to make a monster fridge magnet. So as you can see, I've already made a few of these. This little guy I made a couple of days ago, and the kids absolutely loved him. They wanted to make their own. So this is a really fun project to do with kids. Today I'm going to be using tangerine and sunflower. I'm also going to be using white. I'm going to be using a little bit of light pink and a little bit of black. Okay, so I'm going to choose which colour I want. I couldn't really choose, but I went with orange because it was bright and I thought it might look quite monster-like really. So I'm just squishing the clay just about now, just to make it a little bit softer. And then I just remembered that I hadn't told you the tools. So today we're going to be using a cocktail stick, or if you've got smaller children, and a craft knife, one of the Play-Doh knives, anything like that, a plunge cutter, or if you don't have one of those, just a straw. So we're going to carry on. And it's about now that I should really tell you not to use that entire ball of clay. So if possible, just set some aside because we will be using some more of that colour later on. So here I am, and I'm just making any old shape really. It's your monster. You can make him big, you can make him small, or her, tall, anything you want really. I decided to make mine a little bit longer than the blue one. And I've just made my shape and I'm just squashing it down a little bit just to make it flat, just to make it smooth, just so it could be a little bit easier to work on. There we go. And then I'm just going to reposition it again. Okay, and then I'm going to give my hands a quick clean, just because we're about to use the white and I didn't really want the colour transfer. So we're now going to take the white and we're going to make his eyes. So we're going to use a little bit of white and we're just going to give that a little squish as well, just to make sure it's nice and soft. And then what we're going to do is we're going to flatten it out really quite thin. You can always use a ruler for this, oh my days, you can always use a roller for this, or if you have a jar or anything like that. But I sort of just squish it between my fingers and sort of pinch and pull kind of thing, and that tends to work. So don't worry if you don't have any sort of roller. So I thought I'd try and use the straw to cut out the shapes. Now a little tip. It's really difficult to get the little piece of clay out of the straw. So, if possible, just don't push it all the way down. Just kind of lightly push it in. And then you should be able to just pick it up and pull the sides apart. And then take your circle out. That's just a little bit of a tip. But there we go. There's our little straw eyes. Now you can make your eyes as big or as small as you want really. Like I said, it's your monster. I decided here that the eyes were just a little bit too small for the size of my monster. So I used my plunge cutter. Nice little circle. And I'm going to place those on my orange monster. And I'm going to place them one on top of the other. And just like that. Just press them down to make sure they stick properly. There we go. And it's about now that I realised I should have left some of the orange clay, because we're now going to take that small section of orange clay that we left to one side and we're going to roll it into a very thin snake. So you can make your snake, it doesn't have to be super thin, but it needs to be finished because we're going to take that snake and we're going to just outline his eyes so it makes everything just that little bit neater. We're going to go right the way around the circle, press in as we go, and then use your cocktail stick just to get rid of the excess. Or if you've got younger children, use a Play-Doh knife or a craft knife or anything like that. Just please be careful with children and the cocktail sticks. And then we're just going to take the rest of the section, the rest of the snake, and we're just going to pop it around the bottom eye as well so we match it. Pressing it as we go so it sticks, and then we're just going to get rid of the excess there. There we go. And that's the start of our little monster. So I'm now going to take the black and I'm going to do exactly as I did with the orange. You only need a very little bit. I'm just going to roll it into a super thin snake this time, because you do only need a small bit in the middle of his eye. And then you can either pull it off or use your little knife again, and you're going to cut 2 little sections. Try and make them the same size, or you don't have to be honest. You can have one really big-eyed monster and one really small-eyed monster. And we're just going to pop it right in the centre, push it down, and then our monster has eyes. And there we go. Just going to tidy up that black, because believe me, it gets everywhere, especially on your hands, which is why I'm giving my hands a bit of a clean. And then we're going to take the pink, we're going to give that a little bit of a smoosh, which is a very technical term, and we're going to roll it into the shape of a baked bean. That's the only thing I can describe it as. Just roll it into sort of the shape of a little baked bean. Oh, don't drop it though. There we go. And then you're just going to squish that down. So you're going to try and make it flat. And this is going to be the inside of your monster's mouth. Now, if you can see on the green one, I actually used black on that one. But I wanted to use something a little bit different. But he just looks very shocked there. So I'm going to turn his mouth the other way around. There we go. I'm just going to press it down. That's much better. Doesn't look so shocked. And then we're going to take some of the remaining orange and we're going to make it into a snake like we did with his eyes, and we're going to outline his mouth as well. Keeps everything nice and neat looking. So we're just going to go around his mouth, pressing down as we go, making sure it sticks. And then we're going to get rid of the excess with either your knife or your cocktail stick. And there we go. Now the choice is yours. I'm going to use a little bit of white now, and I'm going to make him some teeth. It depends how scary you want your monster to look. I really wanted teeth with mine, but you could completely leave the teeth out. Or choose to put them in. The choice is yours. But to make the teeth, I kind of rolled it into a really thin point just by putting pressure on one side of the ball of clay. And then all I needed to do was just chop the tip off. And there you go, if you can see. And then you're just going to place those in the monster's mouth to make teeth. Now you can make this project out of air dry clay or salt dough, which would be a really fun project for the kids if you can't get your hands on polymer clay. You could just basically follow the same tips, follow the same tutorial, but yours would just be painted after it had dried, or if it was in the oven. There's hundreds of videos on YouTube for salt dough, which you can use to make most of the tutorials that I've done. You can use salt dough at a dry clay, so it makes it a little bit more easier if you can't find polymer. And then I've just filled my monster's mouth with teeth. There we go. And then I'm going to clean my hands again. And I'm going to use the yellow to make my monster's ears or his horns, whichever you want really. So I'm going to choose to make some horns. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it into a ball, and then the same way as we made his teeth, we're just going to roll on one side of the ball. Put a little bit more pressure on one side of the ball, and it gives you a really nice point. Try not to make them too thin, because they just won't stick properly, especially if you're using polymer clay. They just won't stick properly, and they're more likely to break off. So use your craft knife if you've got very small children, or your cocktail stick, just to chop the tips off. And of course you can make as many of them as you want. You could have a whole head of horns. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them to the top of his head. There's one. And there's two. So our monster is pretty much done now. You can add lots of different things, but he's going to go in our home oven for about 45 minutes. If you're using polymer clay, check the recommended time and temperature to bake him. But I normally bake him for about 45 minutes. Wait for him to cool, and then flip him over, and this is where you would glue your magnet, just with regular super glue. You can buy magnets from eBay and Amazon fairly cheaply. Please be careful with children and magnets. It might be a good idea to get an adult to do this. And he's done. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.